Take a slow, deep breath. Imagine the stars above you glowing like tiny lanterns in an endless velvet sky. The moon hangs peacefully over ancient forests where the wind carries secrets older than history itself. Tonight's story is not about heroes who fight wars. It is about a traveler who discovers that the greatest treasure in the world has always been hidden inside the human heart. So close your eyes. Relax your shoulders. Let every breath become slower than the one before, and allow yourself to step into a forgotten kingdom where myths still breathe beneath the stars. Long before cities covered the earth, before clocks measured time, before people hurried through their days, there stood a mountain unlike any other. The villagers simply called it the Sleeping Mountain. From far away, it looked like a giant peacefully resting beneath blankets of emerald forests. Its snowy peak touched the clouds. Its waterfalls shimmered like silver ribbons. Every evening, mysterious blue lights danced around its cliffs before disappearing into the darkness. The elders believed the mountain was alive. Not alive like people, but alive like the moon, like rivers, like the wind. Ancient legends said the mountain listened, not to loud voices, not to proud speeches, only to quiet hearts. Many had climbed the mountains searching for gold. Some searched for magical powers. Others wanted eternal youth. None returned with what they expected. Instead, every traveler came home smiling, calmer, kinder, more patient. When asked what they had found, each gave the exact same answer. The mountain didn't give me anything. It helped me remember what I already had. No one understood those words, except one young dreamer. His name was Orin. Orin wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. He wasn't the strongest person in the village. But he carried one question inside his heart every single day. What makes someone truly great? He watched blacksmiths work from sunrise until sunset. He watched farmers patiently grow food. He watched mothers comfort crying children. He watched old storytellers smiling despite having almost nothing. Everyone seemed peaceful. Everyone except himself. Because Orin believed happiness must exist somewhere far away. Perhaps at the top of the Sleeping Mountain. One autumn evening, an old woman wearing a silver cloak appeared beside the village well. Her eyes sparkled brighter than the stars. She smiled at Orin. "You've been asking the mountain questions." Orin froze. "I've never climbed it." "You don't have to. The mountain hears every heart." She handed him a tiny crystal leaf glowing with pale blue light. "When the moon becomes full tomorrow night, follow the light. Walk without fear. But remember, the mountain never gives answers. It only reveals the truth already sleeping inside you." The old woman vanished like morning mist. Only the glowing crystal remained. Orin looked toward the distant mountain. For the first time, he felt it watching him too. Not with eyes, but with ancient kindness. Tomorrow, his journey would begin, and everything he believed about success would quietly change forever. Dawn arrived softly, painting the sky in shades of rose and honey. Orin packed nothing. No food. No water. No weapons. Only the crystal leaf, which now rested against his chest, pulsing gently like a second heartbeat. "Why am I bringing nothing?" he wondered. But the old woman's words echoed in his mind. The mountain never gives answers. It only reveals the truth already sleeping inside you. Perhaps he already carried everything he needed. The path began at the edge of the whispering woods. Tall pines swayed like ancient guardians. Their branches formed a natural tunnel, dappled with golden sunlight. Orin stepped forward. Immediately, the air changed. It became softer, warmer, filled with the scent of pine needles and wildflowers. A voice, no, not quite a voice, brushed against his thoughts. It felt like memory, like something he'd always known but forgotten. Why do you climb? Orin stopped. The question came from everywhere and nowhere. From the rustling leaves, from the babbling stream nearby, from the very earth beneath his feet. I want to be great, he whispered. Silence. Then another whisper, gentler than the first. What does great mean to you? Orin opened his mouth to answer, but no words came, because he realized he didn't actually know. He'd spent his whole life chasing a word without understanding its meaning. I'm not sure, he admitted. The wind caressed his cheek. That is the first honest thing you've said in years. Orin blinked. Could the mountain truly hear him? Could it see inside his heart? Keep walking, dreamer. The path will teach you. The forest opened into a vast meadow. Wildflowers stretched endlessly, painting the earth in purple, gold, and crimson. In the center stood a stone bench, and on that bench sat a young girl. She couldn't have been older than 8 or 9. Her hair was woven with daisies. Her eyes held a wisdom that seemed ancient. She smiled as Orin approached. You look confused. Orin laughed softly. I am. Good. Confusion is the beginning of understanding. She patted the bench beside her. Orin sat down. What do you see? She asked, gesturing at the meadow. Flowers, grass, sky. Look closer. Orin squinted. He noticed tiny insects working tirelessly among the petals. He noticed shadows shifting as clouds passed overhead. He noticed the way each flower turned toward the sun, not competing with its neighbors, but simply growing in its own direction. Every flower blooms at its own time, the girl said. The rose doesn't envy the daisy. The daisy doesn't wish to be a sunflower. They simply grow where they are planted, and they become exactly what they were meant to become. She stood up. You are no different, Orin. You've been trying to become someone else's flower, when all along, you only needed to bloom where you were planted. She began to walk away. Wait. Orin called. Who are you? She turned and smiled. A memory, a whisper, a reminder. Call me whatever helps you sleep tonight. And then she was gone. Only the flowers remained, and the sunlight, and a question growing quietly in Orin's heart. What kind of flower am I? By noon, Orin reached the river of reflection. Its waters moved with impossible slowness, as if time itself had grown tired and decided to rest. The river was so clear that Orin could see the bottom. Smooth stones, tiny fish, ancient coins that travelers had tossed in for luck. But when he leaned closer to see his own reflection, he gasped. His face was there, yes, but behind it, he saw images, memories, moments he'd long forgotten. He saw himself as a small boy, crying because he'd dropped his favorite toy. His mother had knelt beside him and said, "It's okay to be sad. Sadness is like rain. It waters the garden of your heart so kindness can grow." He saw himself as a teenager, arguing with his father. "You'll never understand me," he'd shouted. His father had replied, "You're right. I don't understand everything about you, but I don't need to understand everything to love everything." He saw himself last year, sitting alone on his birthday. Friends had forgotten. Family was busy. And he'd felt invisible. But an old neighbor had knocked on his door with a single candle and said, "I remembered. And I see you, Orin. I always see you." Tears filled his eyes. "I forgot," he whispered. "I forgot all of this." The river rippled gently, and from the water a voice arose, soft and deep like a cello playing in a distant hall. "You have spent your life searching for greatness in the future, while the greatest moments of your life were already happening in the past. You were loved. You were seen. You were enough. And you still are." Orin knelt beside the river. "Then why do I still feel so empty?" The river answered, "Because you have been filling yourself with questions, when what you truly need is to empty yourself with wonder." Orin didn't understand, but something inside him shifted. A crack appeared in the wall he'd built around his heart, and through that crack, light began to pour in. The path continued into a dense forest, but this was no ordinary forest. The trees were made of glass. Their leaves chimed like wind chimes. Their branches reflected sunlight in rainbow prisms, and hanging from every branch were dreams. Tiny, glowing orbs containing images of hopes and wishes. Orin saw a dream of a child wanting to fly. He saw a dream of an old woman wishing to see her grandchildren one more time. He saw a dream of a warrior hoping for peace. He saw a dream of a musician praying for one perfect note. But then he saw something else. A tree in the corner. Its branches were bare. No glowing orbs. No shimmering lights. Just emptiness. "Why is that tree empty?" Orin asked. A voice answered, warm and grandmotherly. "Because that tree belongs to someone who stopped dreaming." Orin turned. An elderly woman sat on a root, knitting something that seemed to have no beginning and no end. "Do you know who that tree belongs to?" Orin shook his head. "It belongs to you." He froze. "But I dream all the time." "No, child. You worry. You plan. You rehearse. You imagine worst-case scenarios. But you rarely dream. Dreaming is different. Dreaming is allowing yourself to want something simply because it brings you joy. Not because it's practical. Not because it will make you famous. But simply because it makes your heart sing." Orin looked at the bare tree. "I don't even remember what that feels like," he admitted. "Then let us remember together." The old woman put down her knitting. "Close your eyes. Now, tell me what you wanted when you were 5 years old." Orin closed his eyes. A memory surfaced. "I wanted to be a cloud," he whispered. "Why?" "Because clouds look so free. They drift wherever the wind takes them. They don't have to be anything except what they are." "And what happened to that dream?" "I grew up. I learned that clouds can't be heroes. Clouds can't achieve greatness." The old woman smiled. "Oh, my sweet child. Clouds don't need to be heroes. Clouds are already magnificent. They give rain to thirsty earth. They paint sunsets with their colors. They remind us that change is beautiful. You wanted to be a cloud because somewhere inside you already knew that greatness isn't about doing something extraordinary. Greatness is about being fully, joyfully, unapologetically yourself." Orin felt something crack again, deeper this time. He looked at the bare tree. And then he imagined. He imagined being a cloud, drifting freely, caring for the earth, changing shape without fear. And suddenly, a tiny light appeared on the tree's lowest branch, then another, and another. Soon the tree was filled with glowing orbs, each one representing a dream Orin had forgotten he'd ever had. The old woman clapped her hands. There. You're dreaming again. And when you dream, you remember who you really are. The sun was setting when Orin reached the Cave of Silence. Its entrance was a dark archway carved into the mountain stone. Inside, he could see nothing. Absolute darkness. Absolute stillness. But the crystal leaf on his chest glowed brighter than ever. Do I really have to go in there? He asked aloud. The mountain didn't answer, because the cave demanded something different. No words. No questions. Just presence. Orin stepped inside. The darkness was complete. He couldn't see his own hands. He couldn't hear his own breathing. For the first time in his life, he was truly alone with himself. Terrifying, he thought, but also peaceful. He sat down on the cool stone floor. He closed his eyes, and he listened, not to the outside world, but to the world inside. He noticed his heartbeat. Steady. Patient. Loyal. He noticed his breath. Like ocean waves. Always there. Always supporting him. He noticed his thoughts. Flowing like clouds across the sky. He didn't grab onto them. He didn't push them away. He just watched. And in that watching, something shifted. A voice emerged from the silence. But it wasn't outside him. It was inside. Coming from a place deeper than thought. Deeper than emotion. Deeper than memory. And it said, "You are not what you do. You are not what others say about you. You are not what you own. You are not even what you think. You are the one who watches. You are the awareness behind everything. You are the stillness beneath the noise. And that stillness has always been enough." Orin opened his eyes. Tears streamed down his cheeks. But he was smiling. For the first time in his entire life, he felt truly awake. "I've been searching," he whispered. "Searching everywhere. But I was the treasure all along." The cave responded with silence. But it was a loving silence. A silence that held him. A silence that said, "Yes. Now you remember." Orin emerged from the cave. It was night. The moon hung full and brilliant above him. Its light illuminated a narrow path leading to the summit. He climbed slowly, not because he was tired, but because he wanted to savor every step. He noticed the tiny flowers growing between rocks. He noticed the crickets singing their evening songs. He noticed how everything seemed perfect just as it was. At last, he reached the top. The view took his breath away. Below him, the world stretched endlessly. Forests. Rivers. Valleys. Villages dotting the landscape like scattered jewels. And above him, stars. Millions and millions of stars. Brighter than he'd ever seen them. The crystal leaf glowed, and then gently faded. Its purpose was complete, because Orin no longer needed guidance. He had found his way home. He sat on a smooth rock. He looked up at the stars, and he began to speak, not with words, with his heart. "Thank you. Thank you for this journey. Thank you for everything I found. And everything I lost. Everything I remembered. And everything I became." A voice answered, not from the mountain, but from the universe itself, or maybe from inside him. They were the same now. "You are welcome, beloved child." You have always been welcome. You have always been loved. You have always been enough. And you will always be enough. Not because you achieved anything, but because you exist. Your existence is the greatest miracle. Everything else is just decoration. Orin laughed. A joyful, childlike laugh. He stretched out on the rock. He looked at the stars. And for the first time in his life, he had no questions.
No worries. No fears.
He was just present. Just here. Just alive. And that was everything. Dawn arrived gently. The sun painted the sky in shades of gold and pink. Orin began his descent. But he wasn't the same person who had climbed yesterday. He walked slowly, savoring each step. He paused to admire a butterfly. He stopped to listen to a bird's song. He smiled at every traveler he passed. And they smiled back. When he reached the village, everyone gathered around. "What did you find?" they asked. Orin looked at them. At their anxious faces. At their hopeful eyes. At their desperate search for answers. And he said, "I found." He paused. "I found that I was never lost. I found that I already had everything I needed. I found that greatness is just a word. But being fully alive, that is everything." The villagers didn't fully understand, but they saw something different in Orin's eyes. Something peaceful. Something radiant. Something that made them want to find it too. Orin walked to his small house. He opened the door. Nothing had changed. His bed was still there. His books were still there. His simple life was still there. But everything felt different. Because he was different. He sat down. He closed his eyes. And he whispered, "I am home. I was always home. I just forgot." Months passed. Orin never became famous. He never became rich. He never achieved anything the world would call great. But he became something better. He became peaceful. He became kind. He became patient. People came to him now, not to ask for advice, but simply to sit with him. His presence was calming. His silence was healing. His smile reminded others of something they'd forgotten. Sometimes, late at night, he would look toward the sleeping mountain. And sometimes, just sometimes, he would hear a whisper on the wind. "Remember, dreamer. Remember who you are. Remember the truth already sleeping inside you." And Orin would smile, because he never forgot. Not anymore. Now, dear dreamer, the story is over. But your journey has just begun. Take a slow, deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Feel the weight of your body. Feel the softness of your bed. Feel the warmth of your blankets. You are safe. You are loved. You are enough. Not because you've achieved anything. Not because of what others think of you. But simply because you exist. The same truth that Orin discovered is the same truth waiting inside you. You don't need to climb any mountain. You don't need to find any treasure. You just need to remember. Remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Remember what made your heart sing before you learned to be practical. Remember that you are already whole, already complete, already magnificent. Close your eyes. Let the day fall away. Let your dreams rise like stars. And trust this. The greatest adventure you will ever take is the journey from your head to your heart. And that journey, it's only a breath away. Sleep well, Gentle dreamer. Sleep well. End. Thank you for listening. May you always remember the truth sleeping inside you. May you always find your way home. And may you always know, you are enough. Good night. Crescent moon sparkles.